Welcome to the Bauer Power Hour, where we pack motorsports, power sports, and the outdoor lifestyle with technology, innovation, news, and good times into an action-packed dirt-flinging show. Hosted by the one and only Charlene Bauer, who's been serving the off-road industry for over 20 years. Time to throw the green flag and get ready for another wild lineup.
Hello, fellow off-roaders. I'm Charlene Bauer, and welcome to Bauer Media World Headquarters and this episode of Bauer Power Hour. Today's show is presented by Discount Tire, BF Goodrich Tires, Kicker Audio, and the Pennzoil Mopar Express Lane. Our guests today are the amazing Jessi Combs, Off-Road Expo's Doc Riley, and Thundering Trails and S&F Off-Road Magazine, Serri Kukla. But first, for some breaking news. Bauer Power Hour is now available for free on iTunes. This is so exciting, and this may be old news for some, but iTunes joins the list of 5 podcast outlets, which also include SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Of course, the visual version is available via YouTube, Vimeo, and AutoWorks TV. If you have a suggestion of where you would like the show to appear, please reach out to me. We have a list, and we are more than happy to add your suggestion. Jagged X Racing is happy to announce their partnership with Jackson Motorsports Group and BF Goodrich Tires. Jagged X will be running the newly introduced BFG KR2 UTV specific tire. This ultra-tough tire promises to be a game changer in the world of UTV racing. They debuted the tire at the Baja 500 and were impressed with its durability and amazing performance. Brandon Schuler said, "We have always trusted in BF Goodrich products for our race cars, but this new tire is even better than we could have imagined. The performance and durability is unmatched." To find out more about the BF Goodrich UTV tire, please go to jacksonmotorsportsgroup.com. Funrise Toys, manufacturer of Tonka branded products, announced the completion of its new Tonka 4Runner. Sponsored by Toyota, Bulletproof Suspensions, Smittybilt, Rigid Industries, and other brands. The power-packed 4Runner is the newest member of the Tonka's family of life-size Tonka marketing vehicles, including the Tonka T-Rex, the Tonka Tundra, and off-road vehicles Pro 4, Pro 2, Pro Light, and Pro Buggy. See everything Tonka has to offer at tonka.com. For those of you wondering why the Torque Short Course Race Series had a Tuesday and Wednesday race, it was because they were in Sturgis, South Dakota at the Buffalo Chip during the infamous Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Keegan Kincaid broke out the broom, sweeping Pro 2 with a second, first. And the race results can be found on Off-Road Newswire and can be delivered to your inbox every week by signing up for our newsletter. If you're not following the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Short Course Series, then you may not know about these awesome facts. King Shocks racer Kyle LeDuc has set a very high bar in off-road short course racing. Last season he set a record with 12 single-season wins in Lourdes on his way to the Pro 4 title. So far in 2015, he finished 5th in round 1 and then has gone on a merciless streak, winning 10 straight races, breaking yet another record. His record-setting 10th consecutive win was no picnic, though. Kyle won the brand new Baja International Short Course track in Estero Beach. Congratulations to Kyle on these accomplishments, and we look forward to tracking his success the rest of the season. All of this news and more is available at offroadnewswire.com. If you have off-road news, please feel free to submit it to winning@bauermedia.com. If you want to know what awesome events are happening this weekend all across the country, check out our Bauer Media calendar at bauermediacalendar.com. And if you don't already get our weekly newsletter with all the previous weekend's race results, the calendar, the Bauer Power Hour info, and information from the industry, please go to our website, Bauer Power Hour, and join in. You will never be out of the inside circle again. Guaranteed. Alrighty, let's get to the phone lines to chat with our first guest, brought to you by Discount Tire.
When you're driving down the road, the last thing you want to think about is tires. Trust Discount Tire to get you up to speed on the right tire for your vehicle. Log on now to discounttire.com for the best deals on tires and wheels. We're America's largest independent tire store. Come check us out, and we'll show you why. And remember, if ever you're not satisfied with one of our tires, please feel free to bring it back. Thank you.
I'm excited to start off today's show with one of my friends, the awesome Jessi Combs. You've probably seen her on all your TV screens in All Girls Garage, Extreme 4x4 Overhaul, and Mythbusters, and one of my favorite shows, The List, 1001 Car Things to Do Before You Die. She's a spokeswoman for Wyotech and Warren Industries and has her own line of women's welding gear via Lincoln Electric. And although far from the end of the list, is the fastest woman on four wheels, holding the land speed record at 392.954 miles per hour. What an impressive list of accomplishments. I gotta stop talking, Jessi, and let you get a word in edgewise. What are you up to today? Holy cow, you're always busy, always on the go, and always doing fun things.
Well, today it's not so much fun. I mean, it was like a run to the bank and the post office that took 6 hours.
Oh, you mean like normal life stuff?
Oh yeah. There's just this normal thing that happens behind all the fun stuff.
Yeah, we got to have fun with that. So, the list, right? 1001 cool car things to do. How many have you guys done so far?
We're over 40 for sure. So, we've been filming for about 4 years.
Wow.
We've won a Webby Award, which is equivalent to like a Grammy Award for travel and adventure. So it's actually a really, really good show. And we're really excited about the fact that we're actually airing, I think it's 13 episodes on the Velocity channel coming up. So some of them are going to be episodes that you can already find on autoblog.com. And then some of them are going to be brand new episodes that you'll never see before.
That's cool. So going back in time, what are the top 3 experiences that you've had on that show?
Oh, well, being a part of that show has opened up so many amazing adventures and opportunities. I mean, sometimes it's like, hey, I'm going to go set a land speed record. You guys want to come with me? Or it's like, I've been trying to race the Baja 1000 for months or years or whatever, and then I finally get the chance to do it because of the show. So definitely podium finishing at the Baja 1000. They were there when I set the land speed record. They were there for the Gazelle race in Africa, which was pretty amazing. There's still those moments where it's like we get to drive cool cars. Like probably one of my favorite episodes, and it's one of the newer ones, it was driving a Lamborghini Aventador. I mean, that car is awesome. Right. And the fact that I got to play with it as much as I got to play with it, it was just super cool. I got to drive it for 4 days, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Right. Winning the Baja 1000, podium finish. How did it happen? Who was the team? What were you guys up to?
We actually raced with Wide Open Baja that year. So it was kind of a last-minute deal. I was already trying to race with Wide Open, putting an all-girl team together and letting us go out there and show our skills. But it kept falling through. And literally it was like 2 weeks before Baja. My director called me up and was like, hey, you want to go race the Baja 1000? I was like, are you kidding me? Who with who? And he's like, Wide Open. I was like, of course I do. So it worked out pretty well. So Patrick, my co-host for the list, is my co-driver as well. Yep. And we both drove the car. But we were put in with a team. There was a bunch of guys that were from the South. They call themselves the fastest chickens of the South. So they were able to keep the car together. And oddly enough, like, it was really cool because, you know, pretty much the BFG team always wins, and they had car complications that year, and it just set us in a position where we did really well. And the best part about it is that there was only 3 wide open cars racing that year, so we were actually placed in with class 10. So we were racing against lighter, faster cars, and we came across the finish line in second place. We were the first wide open car to finish.
Wow, that's really awesome. Nice job, girl.
Thank you.
Land speed record. Walk us through that one. I know that was a big one.
It's massive. I mean, some of you guys may have known Will Higginbotham. He was a helicopter pilot for Lucas Oil. Mm-hmm. He kept his helicopter at the Corona Airport. Some of our teammates are also at the Corona Airport, and they were talking about how they needed a new female pilot for this car. And Will happened to mention that he's like, I know the perfect person for it. Oh. And a few months later, I'm out doing engine tests, and it worked out pretty flawlessly. And then a couple months later, we're out driving on the lake bed. Now, had you asked me even 5 months before that, or 2 months before that, like, what are your racing plans? Land speed probably wouldn't have been in that at all. But when the opportunity came up to try and set a world land speed record to be the fastest woman on Earth, I was like, yeah, how could I turn that down? So of course I went after it, and so far we're very successful. My record is actually, with all of the data that we've collected, still is actually at 398 miles an hour, so it's almost 400, just 6 miles an hour faster. When we were out on the lake, but it was 392, but after massive extrapolation of microdatas and new technology and all that stuff, we were able to find that it was 398. And we're going back out at the end of September to try and set the next land speed record to be the fastest woman on Earth. So I'm still trying to break Kitty O'Neill's record that she set back in 1976 at 512 miles an hour.
512, wow. And are you going to do it in the same vehicle or different vehicle, or?
Yep, no, I'm sticking with the same team, same car. There's no need to switch anything right now. The car is ready. It's so ready. The team is ready. We're all really ready. We're still just looking for more financial backing to be able to actually accomplish these goals, because then we still have yet to go on and set more land speed records, because the car is going to go on to try and bring the ultimate land speed record back to the United States, which is currently at 763 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that a car can even go that fast, isn't it?
I know, and I'm kind of grateful that I'm not driving. I don't know. Once I go up for the 600, I might want to change my mind, but I'm going to leave that one to Ed, because the last thing I want to do is steal his glory. The team is all a volunteer team, and they worked their butts off to get the car to where it is right now. So we're going on 15 years that they've been building this car. So the data that we've collected thus, with me behind the wheel, and it's not even a wheel, it's still just a joystick, like
just
you're still driving a fighter jet. Yeah, because a lot of people don't understand, it's an F-104 firefighter jet without wings. So it literally looks like a jet without wings.
Without wings.
And so when I'm taking off, it's got the J79 jet engine in it, so when I'm literally leaving the starting line, it's just like taking off in an airplane. You just never take off, you just progressively get faster and faster. So the G-forces aren't what a lot of people would think that it's like, at the NHRA Top Fuel drag races or like a rocket car. It's still very progressive.
So what does it feel like when you're going 350 miles an hour plus? Like, does it feel like you're going 60 down the highway, or?
Well, I can tell you that 350 is totally different than 440. I could feel the difference of it. I don't have a speedometer telling me how fast I'm going. But it's for me, especially when the afterburners kick in, it becomes so loud, it's quiet. It becomes so fast, it's slow. It's so bumpy, it's almost like you're flying. It's very smooth. And I think it's probably because I get into this super hyper-focused, maybe flow state, and I'm not necessarily paying attention to anything around me other than the fact that the car is going straight, the gauges are good, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, everybody wants to know, well, why is your record at 398 but your top speed is 440? Well, you take an average of the two-way measured mile. So my first pass was only 353-ish miles an hour.
Okay.
And I had gotten caught up in the previous day's track. So when you're driving down the highway and you kind of get caught in the grooves and it pulls you in the direction that the highway wants you to pull you? That's what I was doing at 350 miles an hour, and it gets really sketchy. So I had to pull out of my throttle. And that should have been the fastest run because I had 40 mile an hour downwind. So they were pushing me down the lake bed, which would have been an amazing run had I had a clean course. So when we turned it around and we went back up the other way, it was a clean course and it was awesome and everything was fantastic. So our goal now is anywhere between 550 to 600. And we're just calling them our 600 mile an hour runs.
Very nice, very nice. So I look forward to watching you do that and cheering you on as always.
Yeah, we need as much help and as much prayer as we can possibly get.
Okay, one of your latest adventures, the Gazelle race. Not a lot of people know about this yet, so give us a little bit of background and then your experience while you were out there tripping through Africa.
Not a lot of people know it because it's a French race that happens in North Africa through Morocco. This year was the biggest presence of Americans, period, and we only had 10 teams racing out of 100 and almost 60. So that gives you an idea of how small Americans have a presence. But the cool thing is that we Americans did really, really well. So what the Rally Aïesh of the Gazelles is a 9-day all-female rally race through Morocco. There are no technology, no GPS, no anything of that nature allowed. You can't even really use your own maps. You have to use 1960s hand-drawn maps and compass only. So it's all dead reckoning navigation. It's a very slow race. It's point to point. So it's shortest distance between checkpoints. So it's not a fast race, which can get kind of boring for the driver and as well as for the co-driver. But it's constant focus for literally 10 to 15 hours a day. You really have to trust your equipment. You have to trust your co-driver. You just have to trust the fact that if anything were to go wrong, we have backup. It's an expensive race, but what comes included is you get mechanics, you get fuel, you get food, you get your campsite.
Yeah.
But you get a constant watch over. There's always some sort of a security level that we know we're safe. Like if we get close to Algeria, somebody will get on the intercom and be like, "Turn around now. You are too close to the border," kind of a deal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're always watching you. They always know where you are, and they know if you're cheating too.
So how was your experience out there? What was the hardest part for you in that race?
The
biggest
hardest
challenge?
The hardest part for me was actually my co-driver, Nicole. I love her to pieces. She's still one of my best friends. But we had a really hard time communicating and I think just trusting each other. And she had a hard time trusting me, and I completely understand why. I mean, it's her truck. We're racing her truck in the middle of Africa, and we had to ship it over. And she had this idea that the truck was going to be helicoptered out with the leaf spring broken, and we're not going to be able to drive the rest of the race. And I had 100% faith in the truck, and I had 100% faith in my skills. And because I was kind of cool, calm, and collected about it, I think that was a hard thing for her to work with. She was like, "Why aren't you freaking out about this?" I'm like, "Because I can fix it. Because I know I can get ourselves out of it. Because I know I can find ourselves. I may have been lost a couple times, but the fact that I got us to pretty much I'm going to call it 60 checkpoints. I don't even know how many checkpoints we had. But I got us to every single checkpoint and every single difficult checkpoint because we chose to go through the X checkpoints. I felt very confident in my navigation skills, and of course, my background as far as building things, I felt very confident that if anything were to break, I could fix it. So I think that was just our biggest thing, our biggest issue. I mean, at the end, we're still hugging, we're still high-fiving, and we're still best friends, but that was the biggest one, is that you have to communicate.
Yeah.
You have to put all of your trust into each other and your vehicle. And if you don't, then that's going to start raising a lot of red flags and a lot of insecurities, and, I mean, I'm not a baby by any means, but I'm not going to lie, I was crying every single day. It was a very difficult race.
Really pushing you to the edge of your limits. And that's exciting
really does,
too. Like you finally, it's hard sometimes to find something that pushes you to the edge of your limits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll turn around and I'll do it all over again.
Awesome. All right. We're going to hit reverse. Rop, here we go. What was the very first vehicle that you ever drove, off-road, on-road? Who got you into it? How old were you?
Okay, so we grew up with basically Chevy Blazers or GMC Jimmys with that rounded body style 6872. That's kind of what we grew up with. That was the first thing that I ever drove that I remember. I was 4, sitting on my dad's lap, and I drove into a ditch, and he kind of, because he was off lollygagging, and he looked up and he was like, "All right," gets me back on the road, and he goes, "See the road?" And I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Stay on that." And I never drove off-road ever. I shouldn't say never drove off-road again, but, I always stayed on road, and I did just fine. And but even then, when I got my first off-road vehicle, it was still a 72 Blazer.
And then as you moved on and progressed on in life, you chose a career path that wasn't normal, I guess, maybe in the way of words. How did you get into welding? How did you get into the mechanic scene, into the fabrication scene?
Well, I had always had an interest in it. My dad's a mechanical engineer, so he was always working out in the shop. But my parents divorced when I was 11, so I didn't have my dad around in those crucial years. My great-grandmother used to race. My mom has balls of steel. And so I think the collaboration of all three of them just kind of led me into the fact that I love cars. I love going fast. I love their beauty of them. I love hot rods. I love motorcycles. I love the nice curvaceous lines. But I love the way that they perform as well. So I eventually, after I graduated high school, I took 5 years off, and I eventually got a degree in custom automotive fabrication from Wyotech in Laramie, Wyoming.
What led you there? Why did you go there? What started that whole thing?
At that point in time, I was living in Denver, Colorado. Laramie, Wyoming was the only school that was offering the custom courses as far as chassis fabrication and sheet rod fabrication goes. And that's really where I wanted to put all my efforts in, was the actual building part of it. I'm not a mechanic. I can fix pretty much anything, but I don't want to fix your junk. I'm not a grease monkey. Like, I'm a fabricator. Like, everybody's like, whoa, my car is doing this tick. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Can I fix that rust patch right there?
Yeah. But you want this move there? Sure, no problem. Let's cut that apart and put it back together. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's literally all within the passion of driving. If I couldn't drive, I had to learn how to fix it. I had to learn how to make it better, stronger, lighter, faster to be able to be competitive with the boys. And so that eventually led me to Wyotech.
And then you landed on TV. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I was a really good student, and so I eventually got hired by the school to build their show cars for them.
Cool.
And their department was, the department that I worked for was the marketing department. So we used all the cars that I built as marketing tools. Well, because they knew my whole background, they also had really good relationships with production companies as far as making the commercials for the school itself. So when Extreme 4x4 called in and said, hey, we are looking for somebody who's really good with off-road, might be, a good candidate for this. They're like, oh, well, Jessi Combs. She's got background in off-road. She's, she was on television with Overhauling, which I don't even claim that to be any sort of television experience by any means. But long story short, about a week later, I went and auditioned, and that's when I very first met Ian Johnson. And a couple weeks later, we were both informed that we got the job, and a couple months later, we were filming. And it was, literally the rest is history. I mean, the first 6 months we were there, we worked pretty much 24 hours a day to try and keep up with network deadlines. And I think what a lot of people don't know is that Ian and I really did do all the work. I mean, we didn't have any behind-the-scenes helpers. I've worked on automotive shows where we do have helpers,
right.
But Ian and I, it was just the two of us. So we worked our butts off to try and get to a point where we could work normal hours, and we had a system, and Ian was really good with all of that as far as, because he was a high school teacher, so he had a great way of putting programs together and somewhat of a curriculum together, and we had a really good plan, and I think because of that we were able to make a show that didn't sound like a commercial.
Yeah.
I think anybody, whether you were in off-road or not, you could learn a lot from watching our show.
Yes.
And I think that's where we got a lot of respect, was solely because of that. And I did that for 4 years. In the middle of all of that, I broke my back. I had a 550-pound piece of machinery fall on me, talk on my head to my knees, burst fracture my L3. So I have an L1 through L4 vertebrae fusion. And things at work were just never going to be the same, which is totally understandable because it's a pretty significant injury.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving on, and it opened up so many other doors, especially in the television world and brand representation world.
Yeah. What are some of the more entertaining things that you've done that maybe nobody knows about? Like, maybe it's a little bit more behind the scenes, or maybe it was right in front of everybody, but it's something that says, you know what, I made it. I did this. I'm here.
I think that's almost every day I laugh at myself. Every day is an entertaining day for me. I'm like, oh my God, this just happened today.
Right.
I mean, if I almost, some days I want a camera just follow me around so people could understand the kind of life I live, because it's totally crazy. I never know what's going to come in front of me, and I never know what opportunities are going to be presented to me. And I think that's one of the best things that has ever happened. The most entertaining things is the ability to take those opportunities, because I think a lot of people shy away from opportunity, and I'm like, oh, what's this? Sweet. And it could be anything from crazy lady at the post office who keeps telling me that it's going to be too long. It's too long before it's her turn. Too long. She's the next one in line. And then she tells everybody behind her, it's too long before it's my next turn. And I can just make an opportunity and create something out of that. Or it could be, building a charity motorcycle. That's probably one of my favorite pieces that I ever did, was the charity motorcycle, because it wasn't for me. It wasn't for work. It wasn't for anything other than for fun.
Yeah.
And it ended up going to a really good cause and to a really good home. And I couldn't be more honored to have been the builder behind that bike, you know?
Yeah.
And because of it, I get to meet so many amazing people, which is like my business partner, Teresa. She and I worked on a Mustang for the SEMA Business Women's Network.
Yep.
And she was painting the car, and I met her, and we kind of hit it off. She rides motorcycles, I ride motorcycles, and she's super cool. And then before you know it, like, we're building a motorcycle together, and then she was my co-driver in Ultra 4 last year, and now we have a business together called Real Deal, where it promotes and empowers women in the automotive and industrial arts industries and really craves to inspire people through the hands-on aspect of design, speed, and just ultimately grabbing life by the balls.
So what's the advice that you want to give to all the girls that are out there that look up to you and have watched everything that you've done?
Oh, there's so many little tidbits of advice, but I think the number one thing, and it's probably one of my biggest catchphrases, is to never give up. I mean, there's days that I want to give up because it gets to be exhausting. People don't believe you. You have to prove yourself over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the number one question that I'm still asked today is if I really know how to weld. And it's like,
okay, wait.
you know, I'm
Do
just
you really know how to
like,
weld?
No, yeah, and I'm like, no, I just fake it, you know. But it's like, no, I'm certified all the way up to aerospace. You know, like I can go weld spaceships if I wanted to. You know, like
that would be cool.
But it's just one of those things that it's like, you know, you just have to just suck it up and just keep going with it and never give up, because ultimately, if you're getting into this kind of field, you got to have thick skin, and you got to be ready for all of the punches that are going to be thrown at you, and you got to be knowledgeable, and you got to be ready to be able to back yourself up for sure. So just never give up, never stop learning, never stop asking questions. You know, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and just keep kicking ass. Like, who cares what anybody else says?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Just go, girl, go. What have you noticed has been a big change in the off-road industry since you started into it? Maybe take it from a girl perspective, different from the whole big perspective.
Well, I mean, I think the comment I'm about to make could almost encompass the entire automotive industry, is that I see more women involved, and it's not just in the secretarial state, it's more in the building, the racing, the PR side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see a massive increase of women in our industry, but specifically when it comes to off-road, there's a lot of chicks that are racing now, and I think it's super cool. I mean, back in the day, it was pretty much like Cotton, Rod, and Nicole Johnson.
Yeah.
You know? And me doing my best to try and get in the seat of something, like, hey, I can drive, I promise. We still have our difficulties, you know, I still have to prove that I can drive, and it's like, I don't know what else I can do to tell people, like, hey, I can drive. I got a national championship in Ultra 4.
Right.
I podium finished at the Baja 1000.
Right.
I have a land speed record, and I can drive literally anything. I've been training every single form of driving. And somehow that still doesn't parlay into the minds of the team owners, or, you know, like, they could be looking for drivers, but why would they look for a girl? Well, because it's very marketable.
Right.
That's one thing, that if you have a good female driver, you also have a very, very good marketing plan to go along with it, because we're easy to market. As long as I think if we keep it within reason. You know, I think there's a lot of girls in this industry that are doing it for the wrong reasons, as far as, you know, getting modeling and spreading their legs on the hoods of cars and that kind of stuff. But there's girls out there that are really doing it. They're really hands-on and that are the real deal. Yeah. And those are the girls that I feel like we need to really lift up and embrace, because the other girls, I feel like, are ruining it for us. I mean, there's a time and a place for them, but there's also a time and a place for us. And instead of having to prove ourselves over and over, I really want to just lift it up and expose it to the rest of the world.
Awesome. Well, again, I agree with you 100%, and always been on the same page on that. So thank you for everything that you've done and all of your touring across the country in order to, you know, empower those girls to believe in the same as well. And I know it's not easy, girl.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, life isn't easy, but when you try to throw yourself into an industry that doesn't want to accept you, and you go in it head first, you got to be ready for it.
Yep. Okay. Most favorite question of the day. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Zip ties or duct tape?
Both.
Oh, what's the most important thing you've held on with, one or the other?
It was probably a drive shaft with zip ties.
Yeah. It happens a lot, I guess.
Yeah, drive shafts are very detrimental. So if you can at least keep it up and not spin into the floor pan or into any of your other components, you're doing good. But,
you're doing good.
Man, I mean, it's funny because, like I mentioned with Nicole, she had an image in her head of the truck being helicoptered out of Morocco with a main leaf broken, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, I can fix it with a wrench and duct tape.
Yeah.
We got lots of duct tape, right? We're golden. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, you can find out more about Jessi online at jessicombs.com, on Facebook under Jessi Combs Official, and on Instagram and Twitter at the Jessi Combs. Final word?
Thanks for everybody to keep motorsports alive. I think that's one thing that we're losing in our world these days. Racing isn't as popular as it used to be, and for everybody who is still getting behind the seats and busting their asses and working late nights to get their cars ready, I bow down to you, and I am very, very grateful for keeping the spirit alive.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And now we're going to go to our next guest, brought to you by Kicker Audio.
If you drive a utility vehicle, Jeep, or motorcycle, Kicker Audio has the power sports stereo gear to entertain you at any location. The gear is compact, weatherproof, and provides you with great sounding music wherever the job or fun takes you. See your authorized Kicker dealer for your off-road tunes.
We're quickly approaching show season. In fact, season 3 will be bringing you behind the scenes and down the aisles of some of the best shows. Hint, hint. But anyways, let's get back to today. We're excited to have Doc Riley from the Lucas Oil Off-Road Expo, powered by General Tire, on the phone. The Off-Road Expo is October 3rd and 4th at the Pomona Fairplex in California. Thanks for joining us today, Doc. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to cruising through over 10 acres of everything off-road in California coming up October 3rd and 4th.
10 acres? Really?
Over 10 acres of everything. When you throw in the Rubicon Trail off-road rides, the Dragonfire racing ride-along programs, the MAV TV proving grounds, and then a couple of buildings just shoved full of everything that vendors have got on display for everything off-road, from rock crawling to trail riding to adventure racing to UTVs to, everything off-road. Yeah, we got it all.
Wow. So the buildings are packed with vendors, right? Like, that's what we say. Off-Road Expo, everybody goes thinking that they're going to see the latest and greatest and hottest products out there.
Well, it's always amazing to me because this is, in the motorsport industry or in the off-road industry or in the automotive industry, you've got SEMA, the big show in Las Vegas, and the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show, usually in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Those are indoor, mostly trade only. So when you see the products there, they're for the first time manufacturers seeing them. Same thing happens at the Off-Road Expo. This is happening October 3rd and 4th. SEMA comes up in November, and PRI, the beginning of next year. So this is really the industry's unveiling. It's an outdoor show, but it's an expo. It's a trade show. It's a public show. People can come and spend all day or both days at the Fairplex in Pomona, and it really is everything off-road, from pro off-road racers to Hall of Famers to
I was just gonna say
technology.
I was just gonna say the people that are there. Yes, the everyday folks that love to wheel and have a great time, they're there. But the legends are there, and the racers are there, and they're signing autographs, and they're standing right next to you in the hot dog line.
Oh yeah, it's amazing when you can look and see, wow, is that Robbie Gordon, really?
Yeah.
It is. Yep, oh man, is that Kurt LeDuc? Is that, is that Walker Evans? Is that,
Yeah.
some just incredible names that are here, and the Off-Road Motorsport Hall of Fame usually has their 2015 class that's there, and there's just it's amazing as you're looking at something on the show floor. You can look to the left of you or to the right, and probably end up seeing a pretty famous person because they're there looking at the latest and greatest parts for their off-road vehicle or their race vehicle or their adventure vehicle.
So we should.
It really is where the entire off-road nation comes together, and it's 2 days, but boy, it's just packed full of stuff for both days.
We should give all of our listeners a little heads up. On Saturday, in the Score building, they're doing the drawing, and if you want to see a desert racer, this is the place, right?
Yeah, the Score Baja 1000 building and exhibit pays tribute to the Score Baja legends, but also has got great display of current racing vehicles, vintage racing vehicles, and it also is the place where they will unveil the course, the official map, for the 48th annual Ducati Score Baja 1000, and they'll also do the live draw, the starting live draw for the grid at that time too. So that's kind of something. If you're not really a big off-road racer or anything else, you kind of need to stop by and just take a look at it, because this is going to start the wheel rolling for a lot of racers after they find out where they're going to be on and where the course is actually going to go. So that's kind of a high point on Saturday. It's the only thing that happens on Saturday that won't really be happening on Sunday is that draw and the unveiling of the course map as well.
Cool. Well, it's not all about racing. It's about Jeeps as well. And you guys have, what you mentioned, I already heard, the Rubicon Trail. What is that all about?
Yeah, the Rubicon Trail is an off-road ride-along. We take some pro racers and some other guys that are able to kind of traverse our challenging course, and it kind of gives a little taste of the old Rubicon Trail. But we're taking Jeeps pushing to their limits on a course. They'll take you. And these Jeeps, of course, are equipped with the latest accessories from, Smittybilt and G2 axle and gear, Pro Comp, you name it. It's on there. Of course, features usually and typically about a 40-foot long rock barrier,
cool,
steep incline and then a decline, a high leaning curve, all kinds of moguls and things. So it's an opportunity for people to ride along there. There's also a UTV ride along, which is groups of UTVs that were produced a couple of years ago, Dragonfire, and they've really caught on with their functionality and their performance. And you stop by their booth, and they'll sign you up to win a free ride along. So they go out and they play the kind of the competition area, our MTV our MAV TV proving ground. So
cool.
That's something that anyone can take an option to go check out as well.
So ride along meaning I get to hold the steering wheel or I get to sit in the passenger seat?
You are in the passenger seat on the Rubicon Trail, the off-road ride. So,
all right.
Sorry,
all right,
but,
all right.
we might make an exception for you, but as far as most other people are concerned, no.
Okay. And then if I want to watch a whole bunch of fast cars out there, we got the Lucas Oil Racing, right?
Yeah. As soon as you walk in, it's the MAV TV Proving Grounds, Lucas Oil Off-Road. They will usually have a Pro 4, Pro 2, some unlimited buggies. They kind of bring them out, and it's a closed course area where they can do some demos with the race vehicles. Also have some modified karts that are going on. But it's amazing what drivers can do. You're taking 800-plus horsepower and putting it into a very small course. And as soon as those engine fires, everyone makes their way over to that course because it really is something to see what these guys can do in a very small area. So that's right as you walk in the gates, the MAV TV Proving Grounds.
So we have engines roaring, we have vendors all over the place, but there's also a show and shine. Tell us about this show and shine and how it works.
Well, show and shine is just like a car show, only for trucks, and it's basically taking all the trucks, Jeeps, 4x4s, UTVs, everything that's on the ground, not really in a commercial booth, but just regular folks bringing their pride and joy out to the grounds, and O'Reilly Auto Parts does that. We have that judge, so we have an entire awards program that goes with that, and we'll bring in a couple of the industry top judges to come in and take a look at things and make those awards. But that show and shine is just like a car show, only for trucks, and people can find out more about that by going to offroadexpo.com and see if they can bring their ride. I think it's one of the neat parts of the show is where it kind of sets it apart from a lot of trade shows is that the Lucas Oil Off-Road Expo, in between the buildings and in between the MAV TV proving grounds and our off-road areas and our like even our Horizon Hobby RC off-road vehicle park that we have, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Everything in between that, we just jam it full of show trucks, full of just all kinds of different vehicles that represent many, many phases of the off-road industry.
So you have all the show and shine cars out. They're awesome. You have the judges. But when does the award happen? How does that happen?
The awards we take care of on Sunday, and usually mid-afternoon on Sunday afternoon. The judges go through things on, usually they kind of scope some things out on Friday, but the judging takes place all day. And when I mean all day, I mean all day on Saturday.
Yeah.
Judges will get together on Saturday night. They'll come in Saturday morning, kind of take a look around. And then mid-afternoon on Sunday afternoon is where we'll give away all of our awards in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Show and Shine. So it's always a cool part of the event, and I think it's neat because it kind of brings the manufacturers and vendors kind of street side for a lot of things. That puts a lot of their products into practical operation.
Cool.
Practical application.
Yeah, a lot of things happen on your main stage. Walk us through the weekend and what happens on there.
Well, the main stage is kind of the center point. It's the Budweiser main stage. It's the place where you can pick up your schedule for the weekend. They've got a map that'll also be out there that'll outline everything. We'll have live music constantly through the entire weekend, and then on Sunday, it's the Miss Off-Road Expo contest, and that'll be happening on a Sunday afternoon.
Cool. How many girls usually compete? How's that work?
It's hard to tell exactly how many girls. We don't limit it by anything, and it's usually pretty much open. But we'll have a usual bevy of babes that'll be there for the award. And, of course, they'll be receiving the coveted Miss Lucas Off-Road Expo title and getting their cash prize, and we'll even throw in a tiara.
Nice. All right,
It's all about the bling.
It's all about the bling.
Mm-hmm.
So the show is Saturday and Sunday, October 3rd and 4th. No Friday, right?
No Friday. Nope. We get we've tried Friday in the past, and it just seems like everything kind of clicks together better if you go from 9 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday until about 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and you've got a lot of things that people can get through, and the vendors seem to be happy with the 2 days as well, and it really is just where the off-road nation comes together, and we do it October 3rd and 4th.
And I'm going to have to say, it's definitely a 2-day show. Like, you can spend the entire 2 days there between looking at the vendors, dealing with all the fun stuff that's going on, right? Like, hands down, easy.
Oh, very much so. You can come in. I mean, the first thing you kind of be fun to is when you walk through the arch is the MAV TV proving grounds where you get the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing, kart demonstrations. You'll turn, kind of make another right turn. There'll be some wheel and tire folks that'll be there. There'll be suspensions. You'll walk by a couple of really, really cool, vehicles that are all set up that, they'll be in the show and shine. So they'll be taking advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Show and Shine. And you'll just kind of walk through and you can walk down what's cool with the Fairplex is we use the park that has lots of shade in it. So you're kind of walking on these boulevards. They're not really streets because they're extra wide. You may have a Mickey Thompson, semi on one side of you and about 5 or 6 rock crawlers on the other side. So it's just really kind of cool how they put it all together. The guys everyone does a great job, the operations, the Fairplex, and also the staff. They put together just a great show for what's kind of keeping people in mind, but also making sure that everything's flexible for the vendors as well.
And the Off-Road Expo supports a lot of nonprofits by allowing them the opportunity to, tell all the people there. But do they have anything else going on for the nonprofits this year? Do you know yet?
Well, typically a lot of nonprofits will come in, and some nonprofits will just put up a 10x10 booth, and they may be raffling off, off-road equipment and things, or a lot of different prizes. In the past, for the show, we've done some things with the Off-Road Business Alliance and done some in their efforts to continue wheeling on some public lands and things, and we'd like to do a lot with youth education too. So as we get closer to the show, I know that there'll be more opportunities there because one thing the Lucas Oil Off-Road Expo, and especially what folks at General Tire always like to do, is give back to the industry and the community as much as they can. So we're looking forward to finding out exactly a little bit more as we get closer to October 3rd and 4th.
All right. Well, we'll keep our ears peeled for that as well. How do we get tickets? What's the ticket price? How's that work?
Hey, tickets are pretty easy. You can go online. You can go online for a family 4-pack at $28, which gives you 2 adults and 2 children's tickets. And you can also pick it up about 30 days in advance because we're out there a little bit in front. But as you get closer to it, O'Reilly Auto Parts locations will have discounted tickets where they'll save a couple of bucks. Or, of course, you can get the tickets day of the show right at the Fairplex in Pomona.
Cool, and it's definitely kid-friendly. Like, you want to bring your kids to this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of cool as the kids are going by, their heads are turning just like, moms and dads and their older sisters and brothers. They're looking at things. There's an awful lot of, bling and chrome and a lot of gleam that goes on. So kids are there. We consider kids really anyone under 12. And if you're 6 to 12, it's a $6 ticket. If you're under 6, they're free with a paid adult that comes in. So we try to make it as kid-friendly as possible. And, a lot of people have lots of different giveaways. All the industry will have that, so there's some cool stuff. And we always think about off-roading and things, and wheeling is it's just for the adults, but there'll be a lot for the kids to see as well. So a pretty good weekend of family fun.
Cool. Well, I'm going to put a little plug in for myself right now. Actually, I'm Not Just a Girl's going to have a booth there as well, so make sure that you guys drop by, say hi to me. And I am going to be wandering around getting all kinds of great interviews for Bauer Power Hour, because like I kind of hinted at the beginning, our season 3 might be wrapped all around the aisles of our shows, so that should be a pretty fun time. You can.
It will be, and you will stay busy.
I'm always busy.
You've got yourself a full plate for 2 days.
Yes, it's a fun show.
It really is, and it's good because you see a lot of people that from the industry that, for me personally, you don't see throughout the rest of the year. You only see them at this show, so it's kind of a nice little homecoming, and
yes,
and then you'll see them, of course, at SEMA and at the PRI show. But it's always kind of nice to get a little heads up in the off-road market a month or two before the rest of the trade shows kick off. So it's a lot of fun. It's busy, but it really is where the off-road nation comes together.
Definitely agree. Well, you can find out more about the Off-Road Expo at offroadexpo.com, on Facebook under Off-Road Expo, on Instagram at Off-Road Expo 1, and on Twitter at Off-Road Expo. Final word, Doc?
October 3rd and 4th, Fairplex, Pomona. Be there.
Thank you so much for joining us today. That's great information. And now our next guest will be talking about a very special program for disadvantaged youth, brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires.
Are you driver enough to handle the ultra-high performance of the new BF Goodrich G-Force Comp 2 all-season tire, or the rugged toughness of the all-terrain TA-KO2? From August 31st to September 27th, get a $50 or $70 MasterCard reward card after submission when you buy a set of 4 new BF Goodrich passenger or light truck tires.
Head to your local BF Goodrich dealer today.
See redemption form for complete offer details. Offer expires 9/27/2015. Void where prohibited. Reward card issued by U.S. Bank pursuant to license from MasterCard International Incorporated.
Let's welcome Serri Kukla to the show for a little segment about giving back. In 1982, Steve and Serri Kukla founded the San Diego Off-Road magazine, which grew far beyond the county of San Diego and is now commonly known as S&S Off-Road magazine. In 2006, after their kids were raised and out of the house, Steve and Serri decided to open Thundering Trails, a camp that provides mini bike riding adventures for kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. I'm going to stop talking right now, Serri, and let you tell us more. I'm so excited to have you on and telling us about Thundering Trails.
Thank you, Charlene, very much for this opportunity. We raised all 4 of our kids in the world of off-roading. We left the city and went to the desert on regular outings, and they would bring their friends, we'd bring extended family members, and we always had a dream to be able to reach out to kids and families who don't have that opportunity, because we know that not everybody can afford it. They're not in situations where they're able to do that. And we just wanted to provide an opportunity for kids to be able to get out there and have the fun and ride the mini bikes and have the camping experience. And so we moved to the desert in 2004. We live here in Ocotillo Wells. And we incorporated in 2005, and in 2006 we hosted our first group of kids.
Oh, that's awesome. How many kids do you usually have in a camp?
Now we have between 10 and 12. Our goal was to start off with 8 kids, and we only had 4 for the very first camp, which we were disappointed about at first, but by the time they left, we only did it for one night when we first started. We now do 2 nights and 3 days. We thought they had been here for a month by the time they left. It was a whole different experience than just taking our own kids and their friends to the desert. When you're bringing in kids that you don't know and they don't know you, the whole desert motorcycle experience is new to them. It's just really different. And so I am glad that we just started off with 4 kids. But we have 10 to 12 now and then 2 teen staff. And the teen staff are kids that pretty much grew up in our camp. They've started coming in 3rd or 4th grade, and they're now teenagers or in high school. And we've gotten to know them and got attached to them. They know how we do things, and they've proven to be really helpful working alongside our adult staff.
Oh, that's excellent. I love that. How do you find your kids? Where do they come from?
They're usually referred to us by ministries that work with families that are in crisis situations.
Mm-hmm.
We work with a deacon at one of the large churches in El Cajon. He's considered the Angel Tree Deacon, and Angel Tree is a program that's been around for many years that reaches out to families of prisoners and provides activities for the children. So we get referrals from that organization. We have a few other organizations that might work with families in transitional shelters, and they'll refer the families to us. We also have kids that will come who the families of children who've been here before will refer families to us. And we've just recently started kind of breaking into the foster parenting, and we've had a few kids come that are actually in foster parent situations. And so our whole goal is to reach out to the kids that would never have this experience. And it doesn't have to be a prison family. You know, it could be a single parent, low income. We've had kids come that are being raised by a grandmother on low income. And we just want to reach out to the kids that need to be here.
That's neat. So what do you guys do for the 2 nights and 3 days that they're with you? Walk us through a weekend.
Okay. We pack a lot of activities into a weekend. They usually arrive. We provide a van. We rent a van. We have 2 volunteer staff who transport the kids. And so we provide them the transportation from the city out to here. They usually get here about 6 o'clock on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And the first thing they're doing is just kind of running wild because they're not used to having the opportunity to just be out in an open space. We have 50 acres here, and they can run and scream and just really have fun. So they'll get their areas set up. We have a enclosed trailer they sleep in. We call it the bunkhouse. It makes it sound more fun than enclosed trailer.
Yeah.
And they'll all go in and argue over who wants which spot to sleep, and they'll get all of their stuff in the trailer. They'll run around. Then we'll bring dinner out. We usually have dinner pretty much ready to serve about the time they get here, but got it in the kitchen, keeping it warm. So we'll bring it out and serve dinner, and I'm really pleased at the food, the quality of food that we're able to serve with the volunteers that we have and the cooking that they provide. We try to make sure that these kids are going to eat the way that we grew up eating, with, an intact family, with a mom who, prepared a meal every night. We want these kids to eat really well and as much as they want. And so it's just all kinds of really good food and good snacks. So we'll serve them dinner. Then we'll usually get them in a circle and kind of go over some camp rules. And then the kids, it's interesting, we'll do boys 1 month and girls the next month. We do 1 camp a month. And even though they're not ever here at the same time, they do pretty much the same thing on Friday night. They play tag or they play hide and go seek. And they just have so much fun running around. We'll have a campfire on Friday night and sit around that and just kind of hang out and interact with the kids. And so then they'll go to bed about 10 o'clock, and if we're lucky, they'll go to sleep. Sometimes we can hear noise in the trailer till 11 or 12, but the teen staff, it's their job to try to get the kids to be quiet, and we emphasize to them we want them to get a good night's sleep because there's a lot of activities going to go on Saturday.
Yeah.
They wake up on Saturday morning anywhere between 5 and 8 o'clock. We prefer about 6:30 or 7. And the first thing, while breakfast is cooking, is being cooked by some of the volunteers, some other volunteers are setting off rockets. We usually fire up 2 or 3 rockets up into the air, and the kids love watching that and running after them and chasing them down. That's if it's not windy. If you've been to the desert, you know that there's plenty of wind out here, and we can't do the rockets on the windy days. We'll have breakfast. Right after breakfast, we divide the group up into 2 teams because we only have about 5 to 6 of them ride at a time, and then the other group is doing other activities. And we'll decide who's going to ride together, and then my husband Steve and one of the other volunteer staff will go and walk the kids around the track where they ride so they can become familiar with it. We'll come back, and the one group that's not going to ride, we'll get them involved in some games or a craft activity, or sometimes they just want to hang out to watch the other kids that are getting ready to ride.
Sure.
So the group that's going to ride will get all suited up in gear. We use helmet, chest protector, gloves, and goggles. They wear their own jeans, and they generally use hiking boots. We supply those. We don't use the riding boots. We figure they're not going to be familiar with how those feel on their feet.
The bulkiness, yeah.
Right, and then they'll walk the group down to where the mini bikes start and usually spend about 15, 20 minutes going over instructions on how to ride. I really admire my husband. He's the one that will teach these kids. Many of them have never ridden at all, and the ones that have ridden are generally kids that have been here before. And every once in a while I'm down there with them to watch when they first take off. I mean, it's a tense moment when you have 5 kids who've never ridden all taking off at once. And like I said, I'm rarely down there for that. And recently I happened to be down there. All 5 of them fell. And I just thought, oh my gosh. But that's unusual to have that many fall right at once. They don't start them, 5 abreast. They're like in single file. We have 2 adults on the track at the time, one both on quads, so that if they need to get off and help a child, the quad is stable. And one quad will lead and the other one will follow up. And we have a marked course that they ride around. It has a 22-foot tunnel that they get to ride through, and then they get to ride 3 different times over the course of the day for 20-minute sessions. The tunnel also is set up so that after they've become familiar with the track, they can go through the tunnel, and then they have a choice. If they want to ride over the tunnel, they can go to the left. For the kids that aren't quite as brave, they go to the right, and then the track will merge together. So we alternate the riding all day long, and the kids who aren't riding are playing games, playing horseshoes, throwing the football, playing catch, just having the opportunity to really run around in the open desert air. And we have crafts and a lot of board games. We had a checker tournament one time. We had a Connect 4 tournament. It even got to where the winner of the kids had to compete against the adults, and then the adults had to compete against each other. We'll do crafts and hiking. We've got the background of the hills that they can go hiking in. If it's hot, we'll do water games. If it's raining or cold, we'll have to come in the house and drink hot chocolate and do crafts inside. And we do a treasure hunt. Usually that's when we're taking a lunchtime break, and then while the guys who are doing the riding are maybe doing some maintenance on the mini bikes, and we have a big treasure hunt that has clues, and the kids has them running all over the property to search for their treasure, and that's usually a pretty popular thing with the kids. This on Friday night. We'll do a hay ride. We have a tractor that hooks up to a flatbed trailer that has hay bales on it, and it pulls them all around the property, and they have fun with that. On Saturday after dinner, we have a chapel service for the kids. We really like to be able to give these kids not only some fun, but some hope for their lives and their future. And so we have brief little lessons that show them how the Bible can really help them in their lives and give them opportunity to ask questions. And usually there's some fun activity in the chapel service that they all get to participate in. And then after that, we roast marshmallows and do s'mores. They'll go to bed, and they'll fall asleep pretty quickly on Saturday night. They're pretty tired. They'll run around and play hide-and-go-seek and tag again on Saturday night. And then on Sunday morning, they're going to be going home about 11 o'clock. Well, we didn't used to let them ride mini bikes on Sunday morning because we thought there wasn't time. They have to eat breakfast and pack. They write letters thanking the sponsors who have paid their way to come to camp, because each sponsor gets a letter from the child and a camp photo. But now we discovered that if we tell them, if you get all of this done really quickly, you can have one last chance to have a 20-minute riding session. And it's amazing how much quicker they get the work done on Sunday morning so that they can ride again.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And so we actually get done quicker by adding the mini bike riding than when we didn't have it, and we were having to nag them to write your letter, get your bags packed, get them loaded in the van. So I think that walks
that's
us through a
awesome.
weekend.
Wow, that's any kid's dream. That's exciting for anybody to go and do all that stuff.
I think so. I hope so. I haven't heard of any camps for kids that provide the motorsports. There's, horseback riding and a lot of other fun things for them, but I think that we're unique in providing the motorsports. And the kids don't have to pay to come to camp. There's no charge. It's fully paid for by sponsors. We've never had to cancel a camp because we didn't have money. We've come fairly close, but the money's always come through, and we really appreciate that. We're a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible.
Oh, perfect.
We get donations anywhere from $5 to $6,000.
Yeah.
Tierra del Sol Four-Wheel Drive Club has been a big sponsor of ours. Once a year we get a very generous donation from them after their desert safari.
Yeah, so anybody can also support you in that as well, especially with the 501c3. That helps a lot of companies and personal assets as well. So that's great.
Yes, well, we send out tax deductible receipts. If they give multiple donations over the course of the year, then at the end of the year we'll also send them a summary of what they've given for the whole year, so they have one thing to present to their tax man. And if it's businesses making donations, we also welcome them sending in their banners, because we like to decorate the property up to make it festive looking for the kids. So we have a lot of banners hanging from, and all of the mini bikes too are sponsored. They'll pay an annual fee of, I think it's $200 to $300 to have their name on the mini bike. We didn't do that the first few years, and then we had gotten some new mini bikes, and we're looking for a way to cover the costs on that. It was amazing how much more exciting it was for the kids. I remember one little boy saying, I can't wait to go tell all my friends at school that I'm a sponsored rider, because he was riding a mini bike that had, the name of a sponsor on it. And so that was just really neat. So they have 3 number plates, one on the front and one on each side. And they argue over which mini bike they want, because they all insist, that the King bike is faster than the Race 401 bike. It's all the same motors. They're all the same. It's just how fast you turn that throttle.
Oh, that's cool. You mentioned that you have 2 camps, that you have a boys camp and then a girls camp. Is this something you alternate every month? Is it something that just happens during the summer? How do you guys do your scheduling?
We do it from late October or early November, depending on the weather, usually until April. We used to go all the way till June, but oh boy, it's really hot then sometimes, like over 100 degrees. The one time I can think in recent years that we did a camp the first weekend of June, the Blue Inn RV park out here in Ocotillo Wells gave us the opportunity. They didn't have anybody in their RV park that weekend, and they let us bring the kids up and go swimming. And none of them, of course, were prepared for swimming, so it was a girls' camp. They're all swimming in their clothes. Those girls went in that pool. They were in there 3 hours straight, didn't get out and ask for water, food, or anything. They were really loving it. But then we started only doing them until May, and then a few years ago we had some pretty hot Mays, and so now April is usually our last camp of the season. And we always alternate. We do boys one month and then girls the next month.
I'm kind of going to throw you on the spot with this one maybe, but tell us a story of somebody, one of the kids that maybe changed your guys' life, that came into the camp and made something happen, or I don't know what the story might be, but there's a kid that has come into your camp and made a difference to you.
So many of them do. It's amazing how they can show up on Friday and you don't know them, and by the time they leave on Sunday, you just feel like you've known them all their lives, and it's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
For most of them. Some of them, you can't wait for Sunday to come. But a few of the kids I can think of, there was a couple of brothers, and they came from a transitional shelter where their family had been living. And then we lost track of them. They weren't at that shelter anymore. And I don't remember how we got wind of this, that their family was possibly staying in a motel. And so we drove, my husband and I just drove into the city, went to this motel, and decided we were just going to look for these kids. And this motel, I've never seen one like this. It was like part motel and part liquor store. The liquor store was in the front, and the motel was over the liquor store. So I went upstairs. It was the kind where you have to go into an indoor hallway to get, access to motel rooms. I did ask at the lobby if that family was there and what room they were in, and they told me. And I walked up these stairs, and I turned the corner for this hallway, and I just always remember these two little boys were just sitting in the hall playing. And, that was their play area, was the hallway in a motel.
Yeah.
And it was a real small motel. And they saw me. They recognized me right away. They'd only ever been to camp once. And I asked them, did they know who I was? And they said yes. And I said, would you like to come to camp again? And they seemed really excited. And I said, well, can I talk to your mom? And they went in this motel room, and the lady came to the door kind of, I want to say she staggered to the door. I don't know if she was under the influence of something or if she had just awakened from sleep. I'm not sure, but we got permission for them to come to camp. They had no transportation to the location where our van picks up and drops off kids. So we just had the van. I think my husband and I were actually driving the van at the time. We just went there and picked them up first. And we got to know those boys, and then in the summertime we started doing some things with them in the summertime. And my mom at the time lived in a house in the city, and we would go there and do maintenance and help her. She was a single woman growing older. So we picked the boys up, and we took them to her house, and they had been there before with us. And I just remember the one boy sat on the floor in her living room, just fell back, threw his arms open wide, and said, I'm so glad to be here again. And it's just a huge blessing to us to make a difference in the lives of the kids like that, where, we might grow up taking for granted that we live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a backyard. And a lot of these kids, they don't come from that situation. And a lot of times when I'm planning the menu or preparing meals, I think about those boys growing up living in a one-room motel, and I'm sure there's no provision for the mother to provide or motivation to provide, 3-course meal at night with dessert. And we just want to give these kids what they're missing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for everything that you do and making the impact on them in the way that you do it. And for S&S Off-Road Magazine, and you guys always put together a great magazine. We'll have to talk about that some other time and bring you back and chat about that, because that's a whole topic in itself. But
okay,
love,
thank you.
Yeah, love Thundering Trails. You can find out more about the Thundering Trails online at ssoffroadmagazine.wordpress.com, and under the About section, it gives you a lot more information. On Facebook, also under Thundering Trails. Final word, Sherry?
I really appreciate this opportunity, and we couldn't do it without all of our fantastic volunteers. We have 6 to 7 of them, and most of them, importantly, are financial donors, and we just again couldn't do it without all of the generous individuals and businesses who have donated over the years.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And again, everybody, it's a 501c3 corporation. If you have a thought process to donate to them, please do. If you need any more information, always feel free to reach out to me as well, and I'll direct you straight over to Sherry. So thank you so much for joining us. And that's all the time we have for today, folks. What an amazing set of guests. Remember to like and follow Bauer Power Hour on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates about guests and the show. Please subscribe to our channel for new episode alerts. And you can watch and listen to Bauer Power Hour on YouTube, Vimeo, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spreaker, with more options coming soon. So exciting. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, know somebody who should be, or just want to chat, visit our website, BauerPowerHour.com, and click on Let's Chat to send us an email. Until next time, have a great week in the dirt.
Want to learn more about the guests on today's show? Visit www.BauerPowerHour.com for more information, photos, and videos. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching for Bauer Power Hour Show for daily breaking news updates.